What's up? It's your favorite girl, J Khaled, and we are here with another video. Today is episode 1 of Jay's Book Club. If you didn't watch the other video that I have posted on my social medias before, Jay's Book Club is pretty much me reading my favorite book to you guys. You reading it along with me, or you just allowing me to read it for you. We talk about it at the end. And we share our ideas and commentary and things of the sort. We're gonna be reading You Are a Badass. Just to enhance your experience with Jay's Book Club, I suggest wearing headphones, and I also suggest taking notes as well, because these are one of those books that you like. Taking notes is really beneficial, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. That's perfectly fine too. So today we're gonna be just doing the introduction so that you can at least get a taste of what the book is about. It is still a big part of the book, really, but for this specific type of book, like the self-help section, I would say that this is just like dipping your toe in. Without further ado, let's go. Make sure you have your drink. I'm using the red cup today. Let's get started. You can start out with nothing, and out of nothing and out of no way, a way will be made. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. I used to think quotes like this were a bunch of crap. I also didn't understand what the hell they were talking about. I mean, not that I cared. I was too cool. What little I knew about the self-help spiritual world I found to be unforgivingly cheesy. It reeked of desperation, rah-rah churchiness, and unwanted hugs from unappealing strangers. And don't even get me started on how grouchy I used to be about God. At the same time, there was all this stuff about my life that I desperately wanted to change, and had I been able to bulldoze through my holier than thouism, I could have really used some help around here. I mean, overall, I was doing pretty well. I published a couple books, had lots of great friends, a close family, an apartment, a car that ran, food, teeth, clothes, clean drinking water. Compared to the majority of the planet, my life was a total cream puff. Compared to what I knew I was capable of, I was, shall we say, unimpressed. I always felt like, come on, this is the best I can do, really? I'm going to make just enough to pay my rent this month again, and I'm going to spend another year dating a bunch of weirdos so I can be in all these wobbly, non-committal relationships and create even more drama? Really? Am I seriously going to question what my deeper purpose is and wallow in the misery of that quagmire for the millionth time? It was a snore. I felt like I was going through the motions of living my lukewarm life with the occasional flare-ups of awesomeness here and there. And the most painful part was that deep down I knew I was a total rock star, that I had the power to give and receive and love with the best of them, that I could leap tall buildings in a single bound, and I could create anything I put my mind to. And what's that? I just got a parking ticket? You have got to be kidding me. Let me see that. I can't afford to pay this. It's like my third one this month. I'm going down there to talk to them right now. Then bloop-de-doo, off I'd go, consumed once again by the low-level minute, only to find myself a few weeks later wondering where those few weeks went and how it could possibly be that I was still stuck in my rickety-ass apartment eating dollar tacos by myself every single night. I'm assuming that if you're reading this, that there are some areas of your life that aren't looking so good either, and that you know could be looking a whole lot better. Maybe you're living with your soulmate and are joyfully sharing the gifts with your world, but are so broke that your dog is on its own if he wants to get fed. Maybe you're doing great financially and have a deep connection to your higher purpose, but you can't remember the last time you wet your pants laughing. Or maybe you suck equally at all the above and spend your free time crying, or drinking, or getting pissed off at all the meter maids who have precision timing and no sense of humor, who, in your mind, are partially responsible for your personal financial crisis. Or maybe you have everything you ever wanted, but for some reason you still feel unfulfilled. This isn't necessarily about making millions of dollars or helping solve the world's problem or getting your own TV show, unless that's your thing. Your calling could simply be to take care of your family and to grow the perfect tulip. This is about getting mighty clear about what makes you happy and what makes you feel the most alive, and then creating it instead of pretending you can't have it, or that you don't deserve it, or that you're greedy, egomaniacal fathead for wanting more than you already have. or listening to what Dad and Aunt Mary think you should be doing. It's about having the cojones to show up as the brightest, happiest, badassiest version of yourself, whatever that looks like to you. The good news is that in order to do this, all you need to do is make one simple shift. You need to go from wanting to change your life to deciding to change your life. Wanting can be done sitting on the couch with a bong in your hand and a travel magazine in your lap. Deciding means jumping in all the way, doing whatever it takes, and going after your dreams with the tenacity of a dateless cheerleader a week before prom. You'll probably have to do things you've never imagined you'd do, because if any of your friends saw you doing it or spending money on it, you'd never live it down. Or they'd be concerned about you. Or they'd stop being friends with you because now you're all weird and different. You'll have to believe in things you can't see, as well as some things that you have full-on proof are impossible. You're gonna have to push past your fears, fail over and over again, and make a habit of doing things you're not so comfy doing. You're going to have to let go of the old, limiting beliefs and cling to your decision to create the life you desire, like your life depends on it. Because guess what? Your life does depend on it. As challenging as this may sound, it's nowhere near as brutal as waking up in the middle of the night feeling like someone parked a car in your chest, crushed under the realization that your life is zooming by and you have yet to start living it in a way that has any real meaning to you. You may have heard of stories about people who have had these major breakthroughs with when shit really hit the fan. They found a lump, or they got their electricity turned off, or were moments away from having sex with strangers to buy drugs, when suddenly they woke up transformed. But you don't have to wait until you hit rock bottom to start crawling out of your hole. All you have to do is make the decision, and you can make it right now. There's a great line from the poet Anais Nin that reads, hopefully I'm saying the poet's name right. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. This is how it was for me, and how I think it is for most people. My journey was a process, and still is, that started with my decision to make some serious changes, regardless of what I had to do to make them. None of the things I'd already tried were working. Mulling it over and over with my equally broke friends and my therapist, working my ass off, going out for a beer, hoping it all would take care of itself. I was at the point where I would try anything to get my act together. And lord, it's like the universe was testing me to see just how serious I was. I went to motivational seminars where they made me wear a name tag and high-five the person next to me while shouting, "You're awesome and so am I." I beat a pillow with a baseball bat and shrieked like I was on fire. I bonded with my spirit guide, participated in a group ceremony where I married myself, wrote a love letter to my uterus, read every self-help book under the sun, and spent blood-curdling amounts of money I did not have hiring private coaches. Basically, I took one for the team. If you're new to the self-help world, I'm hoping this book will ease you into some of the basic concepts that totally changed my life, so you can have a breakthrough too, without making you want to run off screaming in the process. If you've already dipped your toe in the self-help pond, I hope it will say something in a new way that turns a light on so you can make some major shifts, create some tangible results, and someday wake up crying tears of giddy disbelief that you get to be you. And if I can save one person from ever having to take their inner child on a play date, I have done my job. My main focus when I started working on myself was how to make money. I had no idea how to make it on a consistent basis and was totally weirded out by admitting that I even wanted to in the first place. I was a writer and a musician. I felt it was sufficient and quite noble, thank you very much, to focus on my art and let the money part work itself out. That went real well. But I saw so many people doing such sleazy and heartbreaking things to make money, not to mention those people who were working jobs that were death of a thousand wounds boring, that I wanted no part of it. Add to that my slew of other crippling beliefs about the unholy dollar, and it's a wonder I wasn't eating out of a dumpster. I finally realized that I needed not only to focus on making money, but that I also needed to get over my fear and loathing of it if I wanted to start pulling it in. This is when the self-help books started infiltrating my house, and the name tags assumed their mandatory and humiliating posts above my left boob. Eventually, I took my credit card debt to unthinkable heights by forking over more money than I'd paid for all my janky cars put together, and hired my first coach. Within the first 6 months, I tripled my income with an online business that I created around coaching writers, and now I've grown it to a place where it affords me the means and the luxury to travel the world freely. While I write, speak, play music, and coach people in all areas of their life, using my many concepts I used to so enjoy rolling my eyes at, with which I am now obsessed. In an attempt to help you get to where you want to go to, I'm going to ask you to roll with some pretty out there things throughout this book. And I want to encourage you to have an open mind. No, on second thought, I'm going to yell it in your face. Stay open or else you're screwed. I mean it. This is really important. You've gotten to where you are right now by doing whatever it is you're doing. So if you're less than impressed with your current situation, you clearly need to change things up. And here's a quote: if you have to live a life you've never lived, you have to do things you've never done. I don't care how big of a loser you may or may not perceive yourself to be right now. The fact that you're literate, have the luxury of time to read this book, and have the money to buy it puts you way ahead of the game. In our case, if you have the luxury of internet to watch this video or a smartphone, you're definitely ahead of the game. This isn't something to feel guilty or whiny or superior about, but it's something to appreciate. And should you make the decision to really go for it, know that you are extremely well poised to knock it out of the park and share your awesomeness with the world, because that's really what it's all about. We need smart people with huge hearts and creative minds to manifest all the wealth, resources, and support they need to make their difference in the world. We need people to feel happy and fulfilled and loved so that they don't take their shit out on themselves or other people or the planet or our animal friends. We need to be surrounded by people who radiate self-love and abundance so that we don't program future generations with gnarly beliefs like money is bad and I'm not good enough, I can't live the way I want to live. We need kick-ass people to be out of the struggle and living large on purpose so that they can be an inspiration to others who want to rise up too. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to believe that we live in a world of limitless possibilities. I don't care if you have a lifetime of proof that you can't stop shoving food in your face, or that people are intrinsically evil, or that you couldn't keep a man if you were handcuffed to his ankles. Believe that anything is possible anyways. See what happens. What do you have to lose? If you try getting through this book and decide it's a bunch of crap, you can go back to your sucky life. But maybe if you put your disbelief aside, roll up your sleeves, take some risks, and totally go for it, you'll wake up one day and realize you're living the kind of life you used to be jealous of. I would say that the introduction really makes you feel like the feelings of being unsatisfied. We all kind of have that feeling sometimes. And it starts with that feeling. The process starts with that feeling and how fed up you are with it, really. I know I can do more. I know I can do this better. I know I can go out there and go for it. We tend to bounce back between our passions and our personal beliefs about what we can do and the realities of life. The example was her getting the ticket. She was in a role, she was in a momentum, she was like, oh, I could really live my passion, this is not enough for me, I'm gonna really go for it, and boom, she gets a parking ticket that kind of just brings her back down, and it's like, wait a minute, I can't pay this parking ticket, or I have so many other things to pay for, now I gotta pay for this parking ticket. And we just get so lost in the hustle bustle every day, goings of life, pretty much based on what happens outside of us, not internally. And I want people to understand, at least I feel this way, that a big part of life is your personal perception. And it's important to know that the things around you that affect you, they can be blocked in a way. And I mean all the negative things, they can be sidestepped because you have no control over really what happens around you. This book is essentially about getting in tune with yourself and who you are, which essentially creates your happiness, then acting on that sense of self and creating a life that's really fulfilling. If you know what you love to do, if you know what you're passionate about, if you know about the things you care about, if you know about your tendencies and your patterns, and you can really grab the horn by grab the bull by its horns and go for what it is that you need to go for. I think that is, to me, the most important part of this book, is really getting honest with yourself about everything. Your childhood, about what it is that makes you lazy, what it is that makes you procrastinate, your fears, and what stops you from really taking that step further. Whatever life you're imagining or whatever life you desire is not far-fetched. It is not out of your reach. You're not sitting here thinking about living on the moon. You know, unless you're Elon Musk, then you may be able to live on the moon. And see, even that is possible at some point, at some level. So you really have to put things into perspective. If other people are doing it, you can do it. You can, without a doubt. To tie that up, it starts with the feelings of feeling unsatisfied, then realizing you're unsatisfied, deciding to change that, and finding out who you are and being honest with yourself, then acting on that knowledge of self to create a happier, more fulfilling life. And after you get to do that, you can share your gifts with the world, and you can inspire other people to be just as great as you are. I think that's just sums up the introduction. And yeah, so that's pretty much our first episode. Tell me what you think about this book, or what you think about the introduction, or if you experienced anything like this or you relate to it. I would say if you took notes, go ahead and share those in the comments as well. I would love to see that and just start to open up a dialogue about this topic. Thank you so much for checking it out, and if you stayed the whole video, you a real one.
Oh my god.
You a real one. You a real one. Episode 2 will probably be out next week. Stay tuned for that. Turn on post notifications so you can see when your girl drops some heat. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. I love y'all. Bye.